Good morning, everyone. Well, it's morning here in California. I know some of you on the East Coast, it's just about noon, or it is noon. For everybody else, still morning. So, good morning and good afternoon to all of you. And I'm so excited and happy that you're here. So, thanks for being here, taking some time from your Saturday to have a really, hopefully, an engaging and a discussion about civic and political participation. My name is Victor Manalo. I think you all know who I am. You've at least seen my name, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to having a chance to hear from all of you. So I'm going to wait a second because a lot of people are joining in the waiting room right now, and I want to make sure we get everybody in, and we'll go ahead and start. I want to let you know, for those of you who are here already and came in on time, and I appreciate it, um, that I'm going to be doing some breakout rooms at the very beginning. So if you're able to participate, that's great. I know sometimes people come on to these webinars and they, let have the sound going and kind of doing other things in the background. Um, but if you're not able to participate in the breakout rooms, which I think is which I've heard from last month when I did this. A lot of the people said that was their best part, just getting to meet other social workers. So if you're able to do that, that's great. If not, totally understandable. But we're going to do that towards the beginning. So I just want to ask everyone to make sure that if you get into a breakout room that you be available. If not, let me know and I can leave you in the wait. I can leave you here in the main room or in the waiting area or something so that everyone has people to meet. So, okay, and more people coming in. That's wonderful. Good to see. I'm not going to wait too much longer because I want to make sure we got to get out of here in a timely manner. So I'm sure on a Saturday we all have stuff to do, even if it's just to relax, which is very important. And I don't know if you could see, I have this is a symbol of the NHL, which is a National Hockey League. I'm actually going to a hockey game after this, so I and my friend's going to be waiting for me. So I'm going to want to get off in a timely manner as well. So I hope that's okay with all of you. But I am uh, so I want to make sure we all keep on time here. All right, just want to be transparent. Right? I'm not trying to rush y'all. I just have to get to my hockey game. All right. I am going to go ahead. There's one person that just came in. So, welcome to all of you for being here. I'm really, really excited and appreciate your taking the time. My name is Victor Manalo, and you're all here because you're interested in civic and political engagement. And I want to hear more about, and I think all of us that are here want to hear more from each other, why you're here, and what you what you're bringing to this workshop, and what you think you might be able to contribute to your fellow social workers or social work allies that are here um, to um, to help us move forward in this very challenging and difficult political environment that we find ourselves in today. And I'm sure that many of you are here because of that or for other reasons. So what I'm going to do, as I mentioned to those of you that were on early, that I'm going to put you into breakout rooms, okay? And I want you to in your breakout rooms, I want you to uh, talk. I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna put you in threes. Let me just check to make sure who's all here. So I'm gonna create some breakout rooms here so I can get at least, there we go. We can get three people per room, just in case one of you can't are not able to participate. And then I'm gonna try to circle through the rooms to make sure everyone is has someone to speak with and talk to and introduce themselves to. So what I want you to do is I'm going to give you 5 minutes to introduce yourself to the person that's the people that are in your breakout room, and I want you to answer two questions, and I'll put them in the chat. So, question one is what what challenges, if I could, what challenge do you bring to today's workshop? Okay. What challenge do you bring to today's workshop? And um, what can you contribute to others in this workshop? Two questions. Okay. I just put them in the chat. And I am putting you into breakout rooms with about 3 for each one. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. We're going to do 3 rounds of this. So you get a chance, hopefully, to meet everybody that's here. Okay? All right. So the rooms are going to start right now, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Here we go. See you in a few minutes. All right, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you all found that useful to meet some of your colleagues that are here in the workshop. And if you don't mind, if you could just throw in the chat, I didn't got to do this at the beginning. Just let us know where you're from, because I'm always interested to find out where everybody's joining us from. So if you could just put a shout out in the chat where you're coming from, that would be great. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, yeah. Oh, Michigan, Sacramento, New Jersey. Wow, close to Philly. Nice. Excellent. Oh, Utah. Very cool. All right. North Carolina, South Carolina. Wow. All right. Very cool, everybody. Well, thank you. We're gonna get started here. Um, so you're all here because we want to uh, have a space. I think this is why I did this. I wanted to create a space for social workers to at least have some exposure to what I've learned over the past 30 years as a social worker, being involved civically and politically as a social worker. And I want to share that information with all of you. And hopefully that you can take this information and incorporate it into your practice as social workers, no matter where you are in the practice spectrum, right? I've come to learn that social workers are everywhere doing everything across all levels of practice. And whether you're a clinician or whether you're a CEO or administrator or an organizer, I mean, social workers are out there doing everything. So we all should be doing a little bit of everything across the spectrum of direct practice and getting involved politically and civically, because as people that live in the United States, that is part of a responsibility that we all share, but we don't get paid to do it, right? This is something, a lot of it has to do is, and we can all volunteer some time to get engaged. And there are some of us that are actually in politics and engaged in civics. So we'll talk about that in a second. Anyways, just to introduce myself for those of you that don't know too much about me, although I am Googleable. I saw that on on social media. I say I'm going to steal that. I'm Googleable, and of course I'm a social worker. I am a long-time member of NASW and very actively involved in NASW across all levels. Chapter California. I'm in California. I was the immediate past president of the California chapter. I sit on some national committees and am thoroughly dedicated to social work through our association. I teach at California State University, Los Angeles in the School of Social Work, and been teaching there for over 20 years, probably over 25 years now, come to think of it. And Artesia, California is a city where I live in, but I highlight that because I was an elected official in my city. I served on the city council for 12 years in the city of Artesia. And this is the county seal, the county of Los Angeles, a county of 10 million people. And I have been fortunate to have been appointed by my county supervisor to serve on the LA County Behavioral Health Commission, which which advises our Board of Supervisors about anything that has to do with mental and behavioral health services in the county. So I'm very, very grateful to be in a position to address those issues at a policy level and service delivery level. We already did the networking, so I'll skip over that. So the goal for this morning or today is to explore how do we use our leadership to advocate effectively for policy change and to mobilize our communities for long-lasting transformation. I know it's kind of a big goal and vision for all of this, but as I get into it, you're going to see there are things that we can do to start on that journey, right? If we could just point ourselves in the direction of that goal and start taking some steps, going through the doors of opportunity that are made available to us, we do that all together, then imagine if social workers across the country were all in our own ways working towards that goal in some way. We could change. We could change the trajectory of what we're seeing today, right? And it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week or next month. We're talking about, you know, building a movement of social workers to be effective in the civic and political space. And it's going to take time for us to do that. And hopefully, in our lifetimes, but certainly for our children and our grandchildren and subsequent generations, we have to think about that now. And that's why I'm doing this. I'm glad you're all here. So we're going to define social work leadership and talk about how do we translate that into getting into the civic and political space. So this is a great definition of leadership that I just found just recently as I was preparing for doing this session. This is the second one I've done. My first one was last month, and I love this definition because it was done by an organizational psychologist, right? So someone who studies organizations, but from a psychology lens. So what he says is that leadership is the process of influencing others to understand and agree about what needs to be done and how to do it, and the process of facilitating individual and collective efforts to accomplish shared objectives. Now, as social workers, we are all trained, educated, and experienced to do both of these things. We are all leaders. That's what I love about this definition, is because I think this speaks to us as social work professionals. So we are definitely able uh, to be leaders in the civic and political space. And there's two components of this that I want to focus on, this definition. One, that leadership is facilitating a process, right? So all of us that have done group work or have worked in groups know very well that working with groups of people is a process that has to be facilitated. And we can bring our leadership skills into that process. And that leadership is also about influencing others. In the definition, it said you have to be able to influence other people in a way to bring them to some consensus or agreement about what needs to be done and how to get to that solution. So it seems very evident to me that we are all leaders and can enter into this process. in terms of civic, what's happening in your own neighborhoods and communities and cities and counties. Okay. So I'll give you an example. This is from my experience, okay, as an elected official in a city. So this is a great figure that I found about how cities are supposed to work, right? And this really kind of lines up with my experience as a city council member. You have four main entities that are part of city and local government, okay? And it is you have the public. Sorry about that. You have the public, which is all of us, people that live, reside in a jurisdiction. We're talking about cities. So if you live in a city or a town um, uh, that is run by a local government, that's what I'm talking about here. And it could be a city, it could be a county or a parish, right? Um, you have the public, you have the electeds, right? Those are the people that we elect to represent us on that governing board or city council or county board of supervisors. And then we have a chief executive. So, for example, in my city, our chief executive is called the city manager. City manager is basically the person that runs the day-to-day business of the city, right? They hire and fire all the staff, which is the next bubble over. That they hire and fire the staff that does all of the city business and provides the services to the residents, right? So again, you'll see that the electeds are kind of a bridge between uh, the themselves, the public, which you'll see in a second, and the chief executive, because the elected set vision, adopt budgets, and hold the system, meaning that this whole municipal government system, they try to hold it accountable, right? The chief executive, as I mentioned earlier, they implement the vision, policies, and programs, but they hold the staff accountable, right? So the elected set the vision, the chief executive implements the vision in collaboration with the staff, and the staff then provides the services from that, according to that vision, to the public, right? And then the public, the role of the public, as you all know, is to elect and provide input to elected officials. That's in the best of all worlds, I believe. This is how not just local government, but we could look at this in the same way with our county governments, our state government, and our federal government. It all works the same in basically the same way with different entities in there, but they're all, you've got the public, you've got elected officials, you have staff or government people that work for the government. That's really what this is saying, okay? And then you see these arrows in the middle. All of these entities can interact with each other. So if you're a member of the public, you can interact with elected officials, you can interact with the chief executive, and in some cities, the chief executive is a mayor, an elected mayor that has a whole elected office of executive office that actually helps is part of this process, right? You can also interact with staff, and all of these other folks interact with each other, right? Electeds with staff, electeds with the chief executive, electeds with the public, obviously. So it's a very interesting and complex system, local government. Okay, trying to make it easy, but unfortunately, as great as this system is, I think, as wonderful as it is, because the reason why I bring up local government is because it is most relevant to all of us. We all live somewhere that is, and we all benefit from the local government. Local government provides, keeps our streets clean, fills up the potholes, makes sure the street lights are working, and provides trash services, public safety, both law enforcement and fire. They local governments are in charge of parks and they regulate commercial businesses and and determine where things can be built in their area. They do all kinds of stuff that affect your life every single day, and we don't know. We take it for granted, but cities and local governments do all this stuff. So I think this is a perfect place for us to enter, which is easy because it's right in our own neighborhood and community where we can actively get engaged. Okay. But the reality of this situation, of this table that I'm showing you, this is not what I found in my 12 years on the city council. This is all fine and good in the way it should work, but this is how I see it really works according to my 12 years of experience on the city council. This is how it works. Okay? You see what's missing there? I'm sure you do. I'll show you. What's missing? The public. That's all of us. All right? All of us that live in cities, we are missing from this equation, from this table. That's what I found in my 12 years of experience. Okay? And if you see, again, if you look at this arrow at the top right, it says the public elects and provides input. Okay? So guess what? What I found is that, and Javi, it's a great point that you put in the chat, but it's not that constituents aren't included. That's part of it, right? Cities don't do a great job of including constituents, yes, but we have to look at ourselves. We don't do a great job of being involved in the process and recognizing how important it is and inserting ourselves through leadership into this process. Because if we are not providing input, then this is what happens. And you see what the result is. The result is that staff, elected officials, everyone in that government system talks amongst themselves with limited input from residents. And then you see that arrow where it says provide services to the public. And then we always wonder why government isn't doing what we want them to do. We assume that these elected officials and staff and people that work in government know what we want. We assume that they should know what we want. But the fact is, we don't tell them. The only time we tell them is when we get pissed off at something. When we get pissed off, we'll get our pitchforks and we'll light our torches and we'll run down to City Hall and say, you can't do this. And then you leave and you don't show up until the next time you get pissed off. That's my experience. That's my experience. Okay? I am trying to tell you that is not the way a government should work. Our government is supposed to be for us, right? For the people, by the people, for the people, right? All that. Yet the people are not involved. We have abdicated our responsibility to be a part of this government system. We have said, you know what? We're going to cut out. We're just going to let you do everything you want to do. That's what happens. And I've had city managers tell me in the past, if people don't show up, I swear to God, I heard this from a city manager that worked in my city. He said, if people don't show up, they're happy. Because when do we ever see the public? When they're pissed. So if they don't show up, they're happy. And I said, I don't think that's the case. I think we can all point to something going on in our cities, our neighborhoods, or our communities that needs to be addressed and needs to be changed. But what do we do about it? We complain, but we could get engaged in this process, right? That's the way I see it, right? Okay, so how do we do this? We use our superpowers, right? Of course, my superpower is, I grew up in the 60s, right? So Seeing Superman with little strings, you could see on the TV, flying. That was a superpower, right? Today it looks much more realistic. But we have superpowers, and I'll tell you what our superpowers are. And I alluded to this in a little bit way in our leadership definition. But we definitely have our superpowers. Our superpowers are relationships. That is our superpower. Okay. And this is straight from the Code of Ethics, the importance of human relationships. Social workers understand that relationships between and among people are an important vehicle for change. Important vehicle for change. Now, we know that for those of us that do clinical work, we know that relationships with our clients are a vehicle for change. But what I'm here to tell you and to implore all of you and to hopefully encourage you, inspire you, that it works also, those relationships work if you want to make change in your communities, in your neighborhood, and you want to get civically involved or politically involved in your community or neighborhood, you can use those relationships as an important vehicle for change. So again, go back to those components of leadership, right? Leadership is facilitating a process, and leadership is influencing others, right? So again, I go back to this process. This is a process I showed you. This is a process of how local government works. And we can use our leadership to facilitate this process. And we can facilitate it by getting involved in this process. The easiest way is through because we are members of the public, we can engage in this uh, uh, public sector or public system within our local government. That can mean everything from going out and talking to your neighbors, engaging with groups and different associations and organizations within your community. Maybe maybe your agency is in a community, and you want your agency to be more visible in your community. You start going out to different meetings and um, and representing your organization in the community at different events and meetings and clubs and associations that meet in your community. You could do that too. I started getting involved because my kids, when they were in school, they needed PTA volunteers, right? Parent Teacher Association volunteers. So my wife and I both dove into the parent teacher associations, and we got a chance to meet other parents and to learn and understand what other people are thinking about in the community, in the neighborhood, what things they are concerned about, and to put ourselves into positions where we can actually address those needs. That's what social workers do, right? We can't limit these great skills and abilities we have to just the people that we work with and in the jobs that we work in every single day. There's a whole neighborhood and community and world out there that needs us out there
Here,
doing the things that we do to be problem solvers,
anytime.
collaborators, and to work with other people to address the issues in our communities. So we can get involved in the public level. We can get involved um, in a variety of ways. And I'm going to share with you I'm going to email to all of you after this an article that I wrote and was published in the Social Work Journal. And I wrote it a number of years ago, but it's ways that we can get involved just in our own communities. And if you can just do that and step out into your community and start meeting people, that is a huge, I'm telling you, if we all started doing that, that would make a huge difference. Make a huge difference. Um, so I'm going to share that article with you. But we can be elected officials. I'm sure some of you have heard that maybe in your MSW programs or in your education. You can be an elected official. Absolutely, you
Yes.
can. I was. I know a lot of social workers that are elected officials. It is not. outside the realm of possibility, but it's not for everybody, right? Not all of us want to be in the spotlight, but we could certainly do it. But guess what? We could work for elected officials. I know a lot of social workers that work for elected officials at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level. I know people that are social workers that are working in all levels of government as staff, right? You could also work, and there are other staff positions too. I mean, geez, sorry, I went a little bit ahead. But in our local cities, right, we have many of our cities do older adult programming, and older adult programming. Sounds somebody has their. Let me get that muted. Sorry about that. There are older adult, maybe senior centers that our cities run, right? What a great place for social workers to work. There's parks and rec programs, right? Where you might be able to be helpful or useful, right? In providing services directly to the people that live in your city. People come up to me all the time and say, we need after school programming for youth and for teenagers. That cities can do that, right? But where are the social workers saying to our cities, guess what? We have a need out here and we can fulfill that need. Let's work together so we can figure out how to do that. Okay? So it's really all about the managing of the relationships, right? So if we think about how we can use our relationships to manage our relationships, this is where the other thing, because let me go back to that slide. I forgot to put it in here, right? So leadership is facilitating the process, right? So I showed you how uh, we can get involved in this process to facilitate the process. But leadership is also about influencing. So we can use our leadership in this process to influence people. We can influence our electeds. We can influence our staff that work in the cities. We can influence other people in the public to come around and to agree on issues that need to be addressed. That's organizing, right? But it starts with having influence. No one's going to listen to you if you just you show up at a Rotary meeting, club meeting, and saying, yeah, this is my first time here. And I want to tell you, there is so much stuff that needs to go on in this city. Let's all do something about the unhoused. And everyone's going to look at you and like, well, who is that? I mean, you know, Ray's a good looking person. She's obviously has a big heart, but I don't know her. Never seen her before. Right? I could say that about all of you, right? I mean, you're that it's the relationship that not that that anyone can show up at a meeting, but it's your relationship with the other people that gives you the influence. It allows you the ability to be influential, right? So you can influence this process. You can influence anyone within local government just by creating relationships and managing the relationships of the people that you interact with. Okay, I'm going to turn off this for a second because I'm having problems trying to get rid of something on my screen that's blocking um, my notes here because I want to make sure I stay on time here. And I want to try to leave a little bit of time, hopefully, for you all to make some comments and ask questions. If you have questions and you want to put it in the chat, if I don't have time to answer them, I will answer them in an email and send my responses to all of you. Okay. So there are some things I want to tell you about the relationships, and we all know these things. So I'm just going to reiterate them because you know that all of these things are important, right? But the basic thing I want you to know is when you're getting out there, when you decide you're going to step out and start to create these relationships with folks in your community, no matter where it is, in the public, right? With groups, organizations, with your neighbors, with getting involved in PTA or the Rotary Club, or you want to be on the board of directors of a local nonprofit, you like the work they're doing, whatever it is you want to do in the community, right? These relationships, as you know, are about Uh, uh, Giving something of value in order to get something back, right? Quid pro quo. You give something, and we all know this, right? When you give something to somebody of value, you expect something back. You may not want it back. You may not even want to get anything back, but you have that expectation. I think everybody does. When someone does something nice for you, you want to do something nice for them, right? And vice versa. So that's what drives relationships in in the public space. It's what I'm telling you from my 12 years of experience and more, because I'm still involved in local government, right? That's what drives relationships. You do something for me, at some point, it may not be right away. Maybe in the future, I will do something for you. Okay? Absolutely, Jane. Nonviolent communication. Absolutely. I'm telling you, most of the communications I had with the public in my 12 years, what I would say, and someone I think last month said this. I don't know if any of you ever watched Parks and Recreation, that show that was on NBC, but Leslie Knope, right? She would say, "No, people don't come. They're not complaining. They care very loudly." So I had a lot of people caring very loudly in my face sometimes over my years as an elected official. And I have to tell you, if I weren't a social worker, that stuff doesn't work for everybody else. Because I'm a social worker, of course, I'm going to acknowledge and understand that they're angry and upset and try to do the best I can to help, you know, solve their issue. But most people are not like that. They're not going to be very responsive to you if you're all in their face and complaining about things or, caring very loudly about things. Okay? So remember that. Yeah, thank you, Jane, for that reminder. But there are a lot of things that we can do. I also want to let you know that the biggest things that we can do in terms of giving to people that you interact with is everything that you give to your clients. Everything that we learned as social work students and in our internships about relationships, that's what people need and want. That is a huge thing. And now this is interesting because I just did this in my class a couple of weeks ago. And I did an exercise with my students. And I said, okay, in small groups, I said, share a story of when you were successful in working with other people uh, to complete or finish a project or an assignment or where something what made it a success. And then we came out of our groups and I said, and then I flipped, they thought they were going to talk, share their stories in the group, in the larger group, larger class. I said, no, what I want you to answer is, what did it feel like when people were listening to your story? And to a T, everyone said all these great things, right? About the fact that people were listening to their story. And we know this. If you listen to somebody's stories, you're giving them respect. You're providing them acknowledgement. You are giving them, you're helping their esteem, build their self-esteem. You are recognizing them, showing them that you care. You're giving them care, compassion, empathy, just by listening to them. You don't have to do anything more. How many of us, I mean, know we all had the experience, right? It was thank you so much for listening. Did we have to solve the problem? No. All we had to do is do all the great stuff that we do. Eye contact, shake our heads, listen, reflect, all the great stuff that we know how to do. Guess what? In my 12 years, you know what I found out? People are dying for that type of connection with people. And nobody gets it. They don't get enough of it. We don't get enough of it. If we don't get enough of it, imagine the poor elected official who's and most of their interactions are negative with people. And I'll let you in on another secret. Most of these local elected officials that work in your city, that are elected in your cities, they don't make a lot of money. We all assume they do. Well, now, if you live in Los Angeles, right, you have a big city, you have a big budget, you're probably getting paid decent money in the big cities, right? But in a city like mine, you know how much I get paid? $500 a month. So imagine when people are, for $500 a month, people are accosting me at the supermarket telling me, how come I'm not doing this? And I'm thinking, really, is it worth it $500 a month for me to deal with all this stuff? All right. So let's put ourselves in the position of these electeds, supervisors, people in your community, your neighbors, people that run organizations, managers, directors. Let's put ourselves in their position and listen. Affirm their humanity. I'm telling you, if you can just do those things in your community, you will make a huge difference in your communities. Because from that, from the relationships you start in your communities, will lead you to another level. Well, you'll start your social work, your social work lens will continue to be focused. You say, hey, people are talking about problems and issues around here. Maybe I can help people do something about it. Because that's what we do as social workers. Okay. So I wish I could go into this more. I don't have a whole lot of time left, and I want to make sure I try to, uh, get to any comments or questions before I have to go. But I hope this was all beneficial and useful to you. I do want to let you know, and I'll send you more information about this. I am recruiting right now for the next cohort of my Social Impact Academy. So if you want to learn more and you really want to get into this, I'm recruiting right now for people to join me for the next cohort of this academy. And we're going to talk about analyzing and reflecting on your current level of civic and political engagement. We're going to create a strategic plan together to help align your civic and political participation with your professional and personal goals. Apply your leadership skills like we scratched the surface today on fostering meaningful relationships and collaborations, and ultimately to strengthen your influence and your impact within your own community. All right, I'm recruiting now. Next cohort's going to begin in May 2025. And after we're done here, sometime this weekend, hopefully tomorrow, I will email you the link to the recording of this. I'll send you my article that I wrote that I mentioned earlier, and I'll send you more information on the Academy. You can always look it up. There's a little bit more detail on my website, but not much, but I'll send you more detail about it. All right. So thank you, everybody. AI summary. Yes, I will send that. I think someone asked for that, so I will provide a link to the AI summary. But I do have a couple of minutes, so I'm happy to open it up. If you would like to ask any questions, make any comments. Great. Anisha sharing her LinkedIn. Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ray. I will send details. Yes, Jane, wonderful. Feminist theory. I'd love to learn more. I've read a bit about it, but I'd love to hear more about that. I also am since Anisha put her LinkedIn in there, I have a LinkedIn. I'll send that to you too. I have a LinkedIn group of people that have been through this workshop. So I have a cohort of folks that did it last month, and now all of you. I'll invite you all if you're on LinkedIn to join that LinkedIn group. So it's just for those of us that have been through this, so we can continue to connect with each other. You all hopefully have my email address, but you are welcome to reach out to me at any time. You can check out my website. at victormanalo.com. I'm on LinkedIn too. I do a lot of my stalking. Following on LinkedIn. So follow me on LinkedIn. We can connect there as well. And oh, Ray, that's awesome. Oh, great. I just met Dana um, this past week, your policy director in the chapter.
He's an
And
MVP and a rock star, and we just had
oh,
Capital Action Day this past Wednesday, and it
I
was
know. I
phenomenal.
saw the pictures. That was awesome. Congratulations. And Fatima is my dear friend and colleague. I love Fatima.
Yes, that's how I really got involved with this kind of leadership position. She had a lot of influence over me because I'm mostly a leader in the background, right? Like I did delegate assembly and I loved like the committees here in Michigan. But yeah, Fatima was like, nope, step it up. So very appreciative to her and glad to
Awesome.
be here and glad to meet everybody.
That's great. That's great, Ray. Thank you so much. Well, since you mentioned NASW, Ray, and I'll tell you, all of you that are still on here, I don't see any other questions or comments, but feel free to unmute yourself too. I mean, you can unmute yourself if you have a question or comment. But I told you earlier that I am engaged in NASW, actively involved, and I'm actually running for president-elect of the national board. So for those of you that are NASW members. I will be providing opportunities for social work members to meet me throughout the month of May because the election starts. You'll get your ballots at the end of April, and the election is the whole month of May. So
I
again, if
I
you want to
wanted
reach out to me, I'm happy to chat with you one-on-one. If you have other members or social workers that you want me to meet or meet with, I'm happy to meet with them. But I'll put that out there as well. But Ray, you need to contact me because we need to talk.
Let's do it.
All right. Cool. Send me an email and we'll set up a time to chat. Does someone else
I
wanted to jump in here, wanted to chat? I thought I
yeah.
heard someone on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anybody on here is involved with their local NASW chapters and if they're engaged.
Good question. Thank you, Jane, for putting your email in there. Great. I definitely want to connect with you. Yeah, Alicia. Thank you, Alicia. Alicia, you're still here in California, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so anyone that's involved in their local chapters, yeah, looks like you can connect with Alicia. Her email is there. Looks like Jane is presented for the Ohio. Oh, I love the Ohio chapter. Yeah. Shoot, what's the name of the executive there? I follow her and I've met her a number of times and I can't remember her name. This is where my age is starting to show, because I'm starting to not remember people's names, which is really kind of sad for a politician, right? Yeah, I know.
Danielle.
Danielle, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Danielle. Yeah, Danielle's great. She does a lot of great work in Ohio, and I props to everyone that are, yeah, doing the tough work. Like I mentioned Dana earlier in Michigan. I mean, I didn't know, but she was telling me how purple that state is and how it's really kind of, you know, it has caused her and social workers to think about how to get engaged, right, at the state level. And
100%.
yeah, I
Yes.
mean, and for those of you in similar situations in your states, thank you, Matt. Yes, Texas, my good friend Will, who's the executive director there, I know they're dealing with similar um, challenges. And actually, next week on Thursday, you can look it up on my LinkedIn. I think I'll have a post coming up this week on it. I'm going to have Brandy Reiner, who's the executive director of the Arizona chapter, who's going to be talking about what's going on in Arizona and that, I mean, she's doing amazing things in Arizona, really, given the purpleness of that state and the reddishness of that state, to do some amazing things for social work and social workers in Arizona. So if you're available next Thursday, I think we have it scheduled for 5 p.m. Pacific, which is a little late for those of you on the East Coast. But if you can join us at 8 p.m. next Thursday, That'll be great. All right. All right, everyone. Any other questions or comments anyone wants to make before we move forward? I'll put my contacts there on the slide so you can see everywhere. I'm on Instagram as well. The Macro Social Worker, my LinkedIn, website, everything. So, yes, thanks everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I look forward to connecting with all of you very soon. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Victor. Thanks,
You're
folks.
welcome. Thanks. Good to see you,
Yeah.
Alicia. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.